Today we're going to be looking at a few different ways that you can transfer graphics or words or pictures onto a piece of furniture, a piece of wood to make signs, just like these here. Fresh eggs, groceries, coffee. You can do signs, or you can update a piece of furniture, an ordinary looking coffee table which I've painted with milk paint and then transferred on a graphic, a French graphic, any kind of antique graphic to make an authentic aged piece of furniture. So let's get started. For the next method, we're going to be using Mod Podge. I use a matte Mod Podge. You can use this kind of decoupage medium or anything really, transfer gel. Some people have even used standard craft glue to do this. I haven't tried that, but I just love using Mod Podge because it's really easy to use. So the first thing we're going to do is get our piece that we're going to transfer. Now this has just been printed on ordinary copy paper into my inkjet printer, and I'm sure that laser printers would probably work the same or similar. And once again, we've printed this, I was holding it upside down, and printed it in reverse so that when we are putting it on, it's going to turn out the right way. Our image will turn out the right way so on our piece of wood. So the first thing we need to do is get our transfer gel and any ordinary paintbrush, and we're going to be painting really, you want to get right to the edges all over your image, so don't leave anything out. Okay, so I've gotten right to the image, the edge of the image, and we'll pick that up and we're going to place it down as central as we can to the piece of wood. Once you've placed it fairly central, just smooth from the centre out, and it'll slide around a little bit. So you just need to make sure you get down all of the edges smoothly. This works best on porous type surfaces, for example chalk paint or milk paint, which is what I've used here. This is Miss Mustard Seed's milk paint in grain sack over the top of a kitchen scale colour. So I've just made a bit of an authentic aged looking piece of wood that we're making into a sign that will look like an antique sign. So I've smoothed all of the bubbles out. If you're doing this on a flat surface, you could use something like a credit card or a brayer to get all of the bubbles out. I'll just use my fingers. So if there's any little bits of Mod Podge around the edges, just make sure you keep them clear, just wipe them off. And now we have to let this dry. It's best to let it dry overnight because you want it really dry for the next step, which is going to be to wet that paper and rub it off. So I'll leave this overnight, or if you don't have the patience or can't leave it till overnight, you can put it in a very slow oven and just let it dry like that. Now that our Mod Podge graphic has dried completely, we're going to wet the surface with a sponge, or you can just use your fingers. So I like to start out by using a wet cloth, and it has to be really generously wet. You don't squeeze it out, nothing. So as you can see here, you can start to see through the paper. As the paper gets wet, you can start to see your image. As the paper gets even more wet, this is where I'll put my cloth down for a moment and I'll start to rub with my fingers. And you can see the paper backing is coming off the image. You can see through, because Mod Podge dries clear, it does its magic, and all the little bits of paper will just fall away. And you can see the green paint coming straight through there because the Mod Podge has dried clear and we're rubbing away the paper. Now I must tell you that this works best on very light coloured pieces, painted pieces, or white coloured, only because you're using white paper and it's probably nearly impossible to get every little last bit of white paper removed from the piece. So if you're doing it on plain wood or a dark surface, you see little remnants of whitish, cloudy look on your piece of furniture or your wood. So I reserve this for these white backgrounds. Or you could try, which I haven't tried this yet, but you could try matching the paper colour to the colour of paint you're wanting to work with. So I'm not sure how that would work though. So once you've got all the paper removed from your image, and this method actually works quite well on rough surfaces and porous surfaces because it sticks really well. The Mod Podge sticks well. So you can just keep wetting your fingers and just rubbing and seeing if there's any more paper to come off. But you don't want to rub too hard. It takes a little bit of practice to get it just right. Sometimes on more smooth surfaces, you can tend to rub away the image a little bit, which is not so good. But when you're trying to get an authentically aged piece, then it doesn't matter if some of the bits are rubbed away a little bit more than others. So, because we're trying to go for an antique look here. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Pretty much moved all the paper off. Occasionally you might get those little tiny bits of paper still left. So then I would wait till that dries properly again and then just go over. That is pretty much dry now, but you may need to wait longer. Just get a really fine grade sandpaper and just sand away any extra little furry kind of paper bits that might be still lingering around, especially on the edges. Sometimes you'll get a bit of an edge that looks like you've placed a sticker over the top. So you want to wear away some of those edges. And once again, because we're going for an antique look, and I've already roughened up some of this surface here, it doesn't matter so much that you've torn away any little other bits around the edges. So that's our image. So the last little bit that we have to do is to seal our image by putting a layer of Mod Podge or some kind of sealant over the top of that so that it doesn't rub away any further. I just like to make a nice protective surface over that. So we'll do that now. Once again, you just need a good bit of Mod Podge all over your brush, and you'll see on the lettering that it actually looks like you're painting glue all over, but it will dry clear and it'll show a really nice, it's almost like putting varnish over a piece, you know, so you have a nice graphic image on there. And we'll let that dry. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe.